Hello YouTubers and computer enthusiasts. I have a little tutorial here on how to use Ubuntu 18.04 64-bit and install it on a USB thumb drive capable of UEFI booting off of a UEFI compatible computer. I am going to give credit to this tutorial that I found right here. Full installation in USB supporting UEFI boot, but this tutorial uses a VMware Workstation 12 player, which is free, but I couldn't get video off of it, so instead of troubleshooting it, I went to my Oracle VirtualBox. I'm using version 5.2.12. So I downloaded the Ubuntu 18.04 ISO and I did the install, and I'm just going to tell you what my settings are for this tutorial to work, where you can set up your bootable thumb drive for UEFI. So first thing, after selecting your virtual machine, and you'll go to Settings General, and you can name your machine right here. I named mine Ubuntu-18. Name it whatever you want, but just remember you can't use some special characters. It does like dashes. So I used Ubuntu-18, and Linux and Ubuntu 64 populated automatically for me. Next thing, still in General, but go to Advanced tab here, and I selected bi-directional on my drop-down list for shared clipboard and drag drop. This part here, H is my slave drive. On my computer, I just use my slave drive for storing my snapshot folders of virtual machines. You can store yours wherever you like on yours, so you won't see the same thing I have as I have here. Okay, here's the most important thing. See the big don't forgets? Very, very important. Under System, you want to check on Enable EFI, in parentheses, Special OSs only. And that's what we're using. Ubuntu 18.04 is capable of UEFI. So make sure that's checked, otherwise this tutorial will fail. Alright, next, display settings. I slide the video memory all the way over, and I enable 3D acceleration. The rest are default. Oh, by the way, because I had already done this install of my Ubuntu, initially I set up a virtual hard drive, and it would be listed right here. But when you do it, you're going to have your hard drive listed right here under storage, and this is your optical drive, so it'll be right underneath that. You make sure you delete the hard drive from the storage list. You should only see your CD-ROM here, right here. Reason being, we're installing to a USB. Whoops, I gotta go back here. We're installing to a USB, so we don't want that hard drive in there. Okay, next thing, we want to install our ISO to our empty CD-ROM. See, it says it's empty here, our virtual CD-ROM. So we will select our little icon over here, and we will choose our ISO file. In my case, I already installed it, so it's listed here, but if yours won't be listed if you never did the install, so you have to browse for your ISO file for Ubuntu 18.04. And once you do that, you go to Audio, and I didn't touch anything here. That's all defaults. Next thing, Settings Network. you will change this. I did change it from NAT to bridged adapter. And this is my network card. Yours will be different unless you have a Realtek like I have. But anyway, that bridged is what's important. You want a bridged adapter. Otherwise, you might have double NAT going on with, that's another topic, but you don't want double NAT going on when you boot off of another machine. So, after that's done, serial ports, that's all default. I didn't touch nothing. I didn't touch nothing there. The USB, by the way, we're using USB 3 drives. They're the fastest, so you want to do that. Don't use a USB 2 drive. Use a USB 3 drive, and you select USB 3 here. Make sure it's enabled. I think that's done by default right there. Next thing, shared folders. That's default. I didn't do nothing there. I didn't change anything. And next thing is my user interface. This is just a cosmetic thing. I click on this one here, show at the top of the screen, just because I like it there. It's a menu for your devices and things in the virtual machine. No biggie, but I check that. Okay, now the next thing, when you start your virtual machine, now you want to start your virtual machine, and you should see this black box right here. If you don't see this, where it says try Ubuntu without installing, it means that you didn't check this box. I'm going back to our don't forget to show you. If you don't see that, that's because you didn't check this box right here. Plus, if you didn't check this box, there's another issue down the road here that I'm going to show you that will mess up if you don't check this box, and I'll show you that as we get to it down the road here. Okay, so now you should see this, and it'll time out, and it'll take you to the desktop. You can click on it if you want, but either way, it'll take you to this desktop eventually, okay? So now here's where you plug in your USB stick. Okay, when you plug it in, the next thing you want to do is go to Devices, USB, and you should see your stick here, your USB stick. If you don't, I've had this happen to me a lot. I plug in my USB 3 stick into the back of my computer using the back ports because they're more reliable than the front of the machine ports. So in the back of my tower, I plug in my USB 3 drive into a USB 3 port, and sometimes it just will not populate. So I try a different USB 3 port. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. So then I'll try a USB 2 port, and sometimes that'll work and it'll show it. For some reason, it's happier with the USB 2 initially. But anyway, either way, try the USB 3 ports first. Try different ports. If it doesn't populate here, try a USB 2 port. And you should see your drive eventually. If not, reboot, try again, troubleshoot it. But I think if you hit the USB 3s and 2s, you should see it populate here. So then you would select it, and then you should see new volume come up here. It found it, okay? Now the next thing we want to do is start gparted. You can go to activities, and you'll get a dialog box like this. You type in gparted, and up comes gparted. In Linux 1804, it's pre-installed. You don't have to install it manually. So it's nice. It's pre-installed in 1804. Good. So now, when gparted does its thing, you should see something like this. Notice the name of your drive. Mine's SDA1. Yours could be C1, whatever. Just remember that drive name. Okay, device SDA1. And now we want to unmount that partition. So you would select it, and then you would go to partition and unmount. And then you would go to partition and delete. We want to delete that partition. And then it'll ask you, it'll yell at you and say, are you sure? And you say apply. That's good. And then it'll tell you it completed successfully. You close that. Now you select that partition, unallocated partition, and you go to device and create partition table. You'll get a drop-down menu. with a warning, and you want to select GPT out of your drop-down list here. Hit apply, and when that's done, you can install Ubuntu by starting up by double-clicking on this icon or right-click on it and say open, whatever. So now, when that install process starts, you're going to notice, I can't show you here because like I say, I did this after the fact, but I don't have a picture to show you, but it'll give you an option to choose a minimal install. Make sure you do that. You do want a minimal install. Reason being, you want this USB drive to be portable across different machines. You don't want to have any proprietary drivers or anything like that. So the minimal install kind of protects you over that. Okay, so you select minimal install, and then there's an option also for doing updates during the install. You can check that. That's okay. All right, another thing to remember, and I don't have a picture to show you here, but when the install is finished, you're going to have an option that says restart, or you're going to have a button that says continue testing. You want to click on continue testing. Reason being, we're not finished yet. We have to set up some EFI folders, and you want to stay in the virtual machine environment. You don't want to do a reboot yet. So once you click on continue testing button, you want to open a terminal, and to open a terminal, you can go back to your little dialog box here, activities, and the dialog box will come up, and you can type in terminal, and you'll get a terminal. And in that terminal, the first thing you want to do is what it tells you here. Make this folder here, the EFI folder. And the next thing you want to do is mount that folder. Now you'll notice the X here. This will be where your drive name came in. Mine was SDA1. I would put an A in here. Okay, so you would put your letter in there, whatever it happened to be. And then you would CD to this partition. See the capital EFI? Now that will not be there if you did not check that box with our remember notes way back up on top there. So if you did it incorrectly, if you didn't check that box, this folder here will not exist. So you won't be able to CD into it. But if you did it right, you will CD into that folder right there. Then when you're in that folder, you're going to be doing this, and then you're going to be doing this, these copies, both of these copies. And that's it. You should have a bootable UEFI thumb drive. So you shut down your machine properly, and then you will boot off of your thumb drive. Now, if your BIOS is not set up to boot off of a USB device first, you can hit your menu button on your computer. On mine, I have an Asus motherboard. I have to hit F8 to get a boot menu. On a Dell, it would be F12 to get a boot menu, and depending on what your machine is. But I'm sure most of you guys would know that. So you boot off of your menu and pick your USB drive, and it should mention that it should say UEFI, whatever your thumb drive is. It'll have UEFI in there. So you select that, and you should be good to go. It should load up into Ubuntu. So now, the reason we pick minimal install is so that this thumb drive will be portable across many different PCs. You won't have anything proprietary that may screw up your boot process because of a driver. So that's the main reason for that. So now you have an operating system in your pocket that'll run on just about any machine that's UEFI compatible, or capable, I should say, a newer machine, you know. And you can store your data on that thumb drive. You can fix Windows machines with it, whatever. Very handy tool. So I hope you guys, I hope I helped you guys out, and I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, please give me a thumbs up. Thank you very much, and good night.